So this week we are studying plants, and specifically plant leaves. And the reason this is important is twofold. One, it helps us to practice our observation skills, which are really important. And then number two, it helps us to differentiate between plants. So we have a world of green outside, right? And it's all very beautiful, but if you're kind of standing in the background, it just looks the same. Whereas if you get close and you start comparing these things, you can really see how different plants are, and it helps you to identify different plants. It's really important. If you know the general shape of the leaf and the leaf structure and how they're arranged on the branch, it can help you differentiate, say, a hackberry from a Siberian elm, right? Even though they both have these serrated leaves. So I'm just going to walk through this real quick with you guys. There are a lot of these guides online. They're basically like leaf-shaped glossaries, leaf identification keys, whatever you want to call them, but you can print them out and it gives you some descriptions of what to look for when identifying these leaves. So first you want to look at the overall shape. As you can see, this is kind of this like oval type of a shape, right? Ovulate. The tip is pretty acute, it's pretty sharp. The edges are serrated, you can see that pretty clearly. The bottom is probably this cordate shape. And then the way it's attached to the tree here is going to have with the little petiole. It is arranged, as you can see here, in an alternate pattern, leaf, 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 as opposed to being opposite, so directly across the branch from each other. And then in terms of the growth habit, this is a tree. And growth habits can be trees, shrubs, forbs, grasses, vines, etc. So this is a great way just to practice your observation skills. So here's the thing, these keys have very fancy scientific names. And with the elementary age kids, don't focus on those. That's not our focus. Our focus is describing these leaves using words that we know. And so they may say jagged for serrated edges, and that's great. If your kids are older, if they're in high school, then we want to focus on using more scientific terms. But in the end, it's not our focus. Our focus is always goes back to making good observations that help us differentiate one plant from another. So these are two common shrubs that are found in our area. This one is chamisa, or rubber rabbit brush, and this one is four-winged saltbush. And to the naked eye, if you're just walking down the street, a lot of people think these are the same shrub, but in fact they're very different. If you just pull off a branch and lay them side by side, then you can see how different they are. They both have these long, skinny leaves, but the chamisa kind of grows along the stem, whereas a four-winged saltbush grows out, and there's more space between the leaves. This is a juniper, and junipers are basically, they have scaled leaves, which if you look at the leaves closely, they look like lizard skin or like bird's legs, and they look like scales, but on leaves. And cypress, juniper, and cedar are all going to have these scaled leaves. What makes juniper different are these berries. So, pine trees. Pine trees are denoted by having needles in groups. So there is a group, this is actually called a two-needle pinyon pine. It has two needles. Pines come in needle sets of 2, 3, and 5, whereas if you're looking at spruce and fir and yew and hemlock, there's one needle attached directly to the branch. They're not in groups. And then here's just a couple more examples. There's kind of your common rose bush. Here's the skunk bush. So the key, again, like I said, is just to go out and make observations. You want to differentiate all this green by showing kids how different these leaves actually look. I mean, these are vastly different, right? And it's really all about getting close and making observations. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives you a good place to start and studying leaves with your kids. All right, get outside and explore nature. It matters.